Welcome to Sacred Rebellion. I'm Kim Andrick.
And I'm Laura Solomon. In this podcast, we defy convention and shatter the stereotypes of what it means to be healthy and holy.
It's time to rebel.
Let's do this. Coming up on this episode, let's do it, Kim. We're back.
Another awesome rebellious episode.
The rebellion continues.
Yes, may it never end. We're here today with Maria. Maria, is it Riegger?
Riegger.
Riegger.
You got it.
Okay, let's start that again.
No problem.
All right, we're here today with Maria Riegger. Maria is based in Washington, D.C. She is a banking corporate attorney by day. Please don't hold that against her. And an author and practicing astrologer by night.
Ooh, she's like Hannah Montana, the best of both worlds, right?
Yeah, right.
So Maria is a Gemini whose head has always been in the clouds. Probably not so good for an attorney, right? From a young age, she was scolded for not paying attention. When she was bored, she would make up stories in her head, and she's been writing since she was about 13 years old.
A rocky childhood, including the death of a parent, led Maria to consider how to be a better parent in a crazy world. In short, more laughs and positive connections and less dictating and criticizing. Parents should parent with a child's particular needs in mind rather than the parent's ego needs.
Amen to that, but not so easy.
Yeah.
An irreverent Generation Xer, in addition to parenting and astrology books, Maria writes gritty contemporary romance and romantic suspense. Ooh, with plenty of sarcasm. Welcome, Maria.
Yeah, welcome to the rebellion.
Thank you, Kim and Laura, for having me. I'm really excited to be here today.
Well, I'm so excited about this conversation. It's quite, it's quite a journey, it sounds like. So, just tell us a little bit about how you started, kind of where the turning point was and how you started on this path.
Sure. So, like you said in your intro, I'm an attorney by day. So a lot of people kind of look at me funny when I say I'm also a practicing astrologer, because they're like, I'm sure, you being in the medical field too, Laura, like you get probably a lot of that when you incorporate the kind of the spiritual practice into like traditional medicine. So I've heard a lot of that from other doctors and medical practitioners. But so like you guys said in my intro, like my father died in an accident when I was really young. And unfortunately, my remaining parent is a narcissist. So I was subjected to like a lot of narcissistic emotional abuse as a child and a lot of negative conditioning. And I didn't realize how much that affected me until I had my own child. And at some point, I kind of had this awakening where I was like, I am doing this parenting thing wrong. And I am perpetuating the same negative conditioning that affected me. And I'm going to create the same outcome in my child that that the negative conditioning effect led me to be or to have. So I started, trying to look for other just better ways of being a better parent. And where the astrology comes in is I've always kind of been interested in astrology as a hobby. But then as an adult, I started seeing patterns with, different planetary energies. And I came to the conclusion that there is some merit to this, even if we don't necessarily know why the position of the planets at the moment of your birth may have an effect on certain aspects of your personality, or how you show up in relationships, or how you recharge your energy, or how you learn, or how you communicate. Even if we don't know why that's the case, doesn't necessarily mean that it does not have merit. So I kind of started to study astrology more seriously. And I came to the conclusion that it is a successful and useful tool, kind of a self-knowledge, personal growth tool, along with a myriad of other tools, right? Self-help books, psychotherapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, EMDR, all these things together. When you're working from healing from trauma to reparent yourself, it's a very useful tool, because I hear a lot of adult children of narcissistic parents say that when they start to heal from the narcissistic abuse, they just aren't sure who they are, because they've had to kind of follow the narcissist's rules for so long.
In survival mode.
Exactly, to be able to survive, right?
Right.
So that, you know, the studying the birth chart can kind of help them start to piece together who they are, so they could be their more authentic selves. So that's kind of where it really was useful for me. And when I talk to parents and look at, you know, birth charts of parents and their children and how the energies interact, you know, that ends up being very helpful for them, because you can look at different birth charts and see how people interact differently, and how, you know, what they can do to kind of improve their relationship. So a lot of what I do is like help parents just strengthen the parent-child relationship, and from there everything is easier. The kids are more apt to like take guidance from the parents, because there's this relationship of unconditional love and support, where the parents are not treating the children as extensions of themselves, as their own person, right? Their own being, and respecting that. So that's kind of a lot of what I do, is to focus on parents building the connections with the kids and strengthening the relationship. And that everything kind of is not, parenting is never easy, obviously, but it does become easier because then the kid feels more safe in the relationship. So
there's so much of what you just said that I can relate to. I remember I have 2 daughters, and when my youngest was about 2, she was very strong-willed, and in having a lot of unprocessed, unhealed stuff in myself that I've since then had the opportunity to work on, but I hadn't up to that point. I could see characteristics coming out in me that were my parents, that I knew had harmed me greatly. And there was just something inside of me that just was like, I am not going to do this to the next generation. They're like,
right.
kind of what you said, there has to be a better way. It was like I could just see it. I could see myself becoming, you know, and taking on those characteristics that had been so harmful to me. And fortunately, I had a very stubborn daughter who kind of called me on it, you know, and would like, she was just kind of look at me like, what the heck are you doing? And then it would be a moment of, what am I doing?
Yeah,
you know,
Right.
snap you awake kind of thing. Yeah.
And then the other thing is that what I love about astrology is that it's neutral, right?
Right.
One sign isn't better than another sign. One planet's not better than another sign. It provides this framework
Structure.
for awareness, right? For and also for acceptance.
Mhm.
And I think that's
just to
really what children
understand.
need.
Yeah.
Right? Just accepting who they are instead of
trying to
trying
change them
to
into
change
your
them.
image.
But if you have a lot of your own stuff, it's very difficult to not
hard.
Well, it's probably impossible unless there's some awareness around it to not project that onto your children.
Yeah.
Not because you're a bad person, but just
Exactly.
because you don't know any better and you're scared and confused.
And asleep.
Exactly. Right. So I mean, that's the thing, is like, if that's how you were raised and that's what you see around you, you're going to think that's normal, and you're going to push your kids to, oh, you need to do these activities, you need to get good grades because this is what people do, or because this is what I did, and this is what made me fulfilled.
Or this is what's going to prove that I'm a decent human.
Exactly. Prove that you're worthy. And that's the thing. And that's what bothers me. And I see it all the time. And like Laura, you said, like, it doesn't mean the parent's a bad parent. They just don't know any better. Right. So when I hear parents overemphasizing grades, you know, I'll tell them, you need to make sure the child is not relating their worth to their grades. Right.
Yeah.
That's the problem. And then they're going to do kind of what I did in my life, which is just continually overachieve to the point of burnout, because you're proving your worth, and you're never going to prove your worth to a narcissist. It's just not going to happen.
Well, you're never going to prove your worth. I mean, you're never going to prove your worth to this world if you don't believe it yourself.
Exactly. So you're worthy because you're a human being, period, the end. Like that's what you need to, we need to be showing to and communicating to children. And that, school's important because it's going to teach you important things that you need to, you know, that will help you in life. It's not the grades, it's what you're learning, it's the skills, it's the subject matter that's just going to help you kind of navigate life better, whatever subject we're talking about. but it's the achievement is not related to worth, right? That's,
Mhm.
and obviously, you know, I see that a lot, and that's kind of the norm. So like you guys say, it's hard to break away from that. So it requires a lot of detachment on the part of the parent to kind of step outside of themselves and kind of the day-to-day, you know, parenting quagmire, which is hard to
And
do.
the culture and
Yeah,
society. And
absolutely.
it's like you have a child of college age. Where's your child going to college? What are they going
Yeah.
to major in, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
it's a part of our culture.
Yeah. And
Or
Right.
where is your child working?
And
What's their job? What are they doing? And there's
yeah. And
Exactly.
I was thinking, because I have a corporate job at a financial institution too. So in technology. And you know, so I'm working with very smart, intellectual people. And, you know, one of my children didn't take the college path. And that was always a really tough question, because you know, whether I just expect it, you know, there's just this expectation that your kids go to college. And yeah, so I can totally relate to that. You know, I was perusing your website, and I love the, the writings that you do. And
Thank
I
you.
especially love the guidance that's based on astrology. So you're like, 7 tips for raising a Gemini, or 3 ideas for what to do with your Scorpio child. And so I was strolling through, because both my children are Leos, and I'm not seeing a lot of
Nice.
guidance you're giving for Leo children.
Not yet, but it's coming.
Thank God.
It's coming. Yeah, I mean, I wrote first about what I know, which is I have a Scorpio sun, and like I cannot avoid Scorpio people. Like my father was a Scorpio sun, and my husband is a Scorpio moon. It's like I can't avoid these people. So I know that side very deeply. So I write about that. I'm a Gemini, so I know Geminis, I think. So I can write about them. Leo, I have a Leo mother. It's hard for me to be detached when writing about Leos. This is a big challenge for me. And you know, us we astrologers joke, there's always one sign that you're like, no,
yeah, you're like,
but
Not that one.
right, but it doesn't mean, like you said, it doesn't mean it's a bad sign. It just means that maybe it takes more effort to understand that energy, because it's so different from yours.
Yeah.
And that's a fair point. But it doesn't mean you can't be compatible. So I do have a bunch of drafts coming up for Leo children. So, but and a bunch of content I need to record in the pipeline. But yeah, so it's hard. I mean, you have to detach yourself as an astrologer. You can't associate that sign with just like the one person that
the
you had a negative
narcissist
experience with, right? So you have to be careful about
made your
that.
life hell. Yeah.
Right. But Leo kids, like I know a lot of Leo children, and they are always very creative. That is something I really admire and appreciate about them. They're like visual artists or writers or painters. They're very creative. And that's like they have this innate artistic talent that they just have it. And that's something that's extremely like amazing to me. Because I don't have visual artistic talent at all. But that's something I can say about Leo kids, that all the Leo children I know are just really, really, really creative and talented artistically. Yeah.
So I'm interested in your gritty contemporary romance and romantic suspense. So
yeah.
talk a little bit
how
about
does that connect with the astrology?
Yeah.
It doesn't, it kind of, I mean, it does and it doesn't. So I've always liked to write, and the fiction writing really lets me be creative in a way that my corporate day job doesn't.
Yeah.
So I started writing, I think when I was in law school, just kind of as an outlet, like I need something else besides used to write textbooks. So yeah, so a lot of the romance books don't incorporate astrology at all. However, I am working on one now that's more of a romantic suspense that doesn't incorporate like a lot of spirituality and astrology concepts. So I'm really excited about that. So that's a work in progress. But it started as kind of a way for me to be just creative and have this outlet for all these stories I always kept in my head running all the time.
Yeah. Well, I love I'm similar, and I think in some ways that I have this corporate job, but I have all of these desires, and I create all of these outlets for expressing that, whether it
Sure.
be doing ceremonies or
Cooking a
the
cheesecake.
cooking
Nice.
cheesecake or the podcast. So tell me, kind of tell me about that journey. Like, what got you into law, and when did you start to really feel this need to explore the creative side of yourself?
Sure. So I knew I was a good fit for law when I actually started business school, and I took the business law courses and I thought, oh, I'm totally doing the wrong degree. Like I've always been, and this is a characteristic I find of a lot of Gemini people with a lot of heavy Gemini energy, is they have an ability to like parse language. They're very precise about language. And that's kind of one of the reasons I really enjoyed studying business law. So I said, oh, I'm doing the wrong degree. So I stopped doing the business degree and started doing law school. And it was just a really good fit for me because I'm very analytical, detached, parse language. So, and it's important. There are always people that need legal assistance, and you're able to provide them. Like I've done a lot of pro bono work, and that's been very fulfilling. These are people that would not have been able to get important things done because of a lack of resources. So that was like very fulfilling, doing like debt related work and uncontested divorces and things like that. So there's always a need for those legal services. So that was kind of another draw. So it was a good fit for me professionally, and I like practicing law. And then, but like you said, it's does not necessarily allow you to be creative, but it does help your writing skills. So so I just had so many stories in my head, and I've always written kind of as a hobby, that I thought, oh, I can self-publish now. So why not, if I have enough content for a novel, why not self-publish? So I started down that path. And yeah, but it definitely started was I just kind of would daydream once in a while during law school classes, and when they got to be too boring. And that's kind of where these stories started, so that I had enough content that I was like, I need to be writing this down. It's too much to be carrying in my head all the time. And I think this would make a decent story. So that's kind of how that started. Yeah.
Awesome.
So I have a lot of story ideas in the pipeline. So it's hard to find the time to get everything done because it takes so much effort to like self-publish a book, from writing, editing, finding the contractors, covers, all that stuff.
I
So
just went through that this year.
Yeah, you did. You just have a book out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So it is. It does take
a lot.
It's a lot of moving parts, a lot of pieces, but it is something to create something and share it with the world in that way, and to have. Mine wasn't necessarily a creative. I mean, I guess it's creative, but it wasn't like a fiction story.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different. But I would definitely like to write a fantasy fiction
Nice.
story. It's in there.
Fantastic. Oh yeah.
Very good. So what do you see a time in the future when you devote more time to your creative pursuits and less time to the 9 to 5?
Yes, definitely. Imminently. Yeah, over the next couple of years, I'll
Yeah.
definitely be doing this like full time. Like between writing the parenting books and the fiction books, I would definitely like to be able to do that full time. So that's
Awesome.
yeah, the next couple of years, that's the plan right now.
Awesome. So you write books and you write blogs, and and you're clearly helping people who have a desire to find ways to support being a good parent. So are there other things that you do to help? Like, do you do any kind of coaching or one-on-one work?
Not at the moment. I am developing coursework, so online courses. So
Yeah.
the coaching will probably come after that. But I do kind of astrology readings for parents. So I do kind of coaching in that respect.
Oh, yeah.
So, right, they can book like an astrology reading to talk about their children's charts and their charts and how those relate. So I do that.
Awesome.
Do people do that like after their children are adults sometimes? Or
They
is
do. Sorry, go ahead.
Or is it mostly like mothers with small children and
Teenagers?
Right. It usually they seek out that help when they're having some challenge with the child, which I find like is often around like 7 years old, 7 to 8, where the children really start to assert their independence a lot more, right? That's just natural child development.
Yeah.
And then when they start to become teenagers, right?
Mhm.
But I do have parents contact me and kind of comment on my YouTube channel that have adult children. So they do kind of seek out, they are trying to still find ways to improve their relationship. But it's by and large when they have some challenge with the child, and it's usually something where the child's really starting to just developmentally assert their independence and autonomy, which is normal and should be encouraged. And the parents like, how do I deal with this? And again, it's a lot of parents who come from childhood trauma, so they just don't, they did not have a good relationship model and a good parenting model, so they're just not sure about, like, they want to follow positive parenting and respectful parenting concepts, but just aren't sure about the strategies, how to do that. Right?
Yeah.
And working in psychiatry, it seemed that a lot of times it would get a diagnosis. And especially I saw a lot of girls around 14, 15 years old, and the visual was like their parent would like kind of bring them in by the scruff of their neck, like drag them in. They didn't want to be there. That's the last place they wanted to be. And the parent would be like, throw them in the seat in front of me, like fix them, like straighten them out, in some way. And I would just think, okay, this, what do you think? What do you think I'm going to do? This is clearly a dynamic in the family, and has been building and building and building. And this is the little tip of the iceberg. And you're saying it's just that your daughter, won't do her homework. Like that's,
or keep sneaking out at night or whatever.
yeah. And you think I'm going to give her some kind of like antidepressant, and then that's going to fix her and maybe subdue her a little bit. But it's, I so appreciate just any tool that we can use that honors and respects just kind of that blossoming
Individual
and
human.
yeah, and the kind of tragedy when that's not cultivated. I mean, it's never too late, because plenty of people, in their 30s, 40s, and 50s go back and do the healing work and become who they were always meant to become. Like, so that does happen. But I just think about how beautiful it would be if we could do that, during the teen years, so people didn't have to like lose 2 decades or 3 decades of their life with some form of self-hatred, self-abuse. But
is the result of that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because the message they were given was there's something wrong with you.
Right.
And even by nature of taking them to the doctor, it's somehow saying there's something wrong with the child.
Right.
And I would clearly look at the family and dynamic and say, this is clearly a family illness, and the fact that you're just bringing the one person who's acting out and dropping them in the chair and saying, we're going to run to Starbucks while you fix the child. And, it's like, no,
right.
That's,
everybody come.
Right. It doesn't work that way.
No.
I mean, for one thing, for the school, like you mentioned, they're not doing well in school. Not every child thrives in a traditional school environment.
No,
It's broken.
I mean, there are plenty of examples of successful adults I could think of that did not do well in a traditional school environment.
Many.
That's number one.
A lot.
I mean, it's an environment that, in large part, not every school, but a lot of them foster, compliance, obedience without question. That's not how I parent. In fact, one of the things I talk on my YouTube channel about, like, tongue in cheek, is that a lot of the teachers at my son's old school didn't like me because I would actually take an interest in what's going on. And because he would talk to me about what was happening at school and it wasn't all good. And I would go in when I had concerns about how the teachers are handling things.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm a parent. That's my right. Right. So I tell parents, you have to be really cognizant of that, and you cannot be afraid about making people uncomfortable, especially if it's about protecting your child and your child's interest. And I hate to say it, but a lot of women, that's how we were raised. Don't rock the boat. Don't make people upset. Don't criticize, go with the flow, like be
In
a
line.
pleasant person, go in line. Exactly. So things like that. So, and that's what parents need to be. Sorry, I have to take a break because I have a machine beeping at me. 1 second. I'll be
No
right
worries.
back.
Yeah, no worries.
Machine is beeping at her.
Yeah. Should be right back. Editors, edit this part out,
Well, on the video, it's not going to be edited out.
Well, we'll just look good.
We could do a song and dance.
You got a joke? Maybe you could sing a song.
Okay, I have a joke.
Okay.
Well, no, it's not a good one.
Okay.
Just when I thought I had turned all the machines off. Anyway.
No worries.
So, right. So bottom line is parents, especially moms, need to not be afraid about making other adults uncomfortable when they're advocating for their children.
Yeah.
And that's something I had to learn, and it made me uncomfortable. It was part of my childhood trauma, where I would be very triggered when I thought, oh my gosh, what I'm going to say, this person is not going to like it. They're going to be upset. They're going to be displeased with me. I had to just get over that and say, well, you don't like what I'm about to tell you, or makes you uncomfortable. I'm sorry, but this is important.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. Well, there is a big unschooling movement happening.
Yep.
Which I think it's a long time coming.
Me too. When we take a factory approach to education, I mean, that just is, it never was good, and it definitely isn't working now.
Yeah. And I have one daughter who thrived in that environment and one daughter who struggled. And I said to her, you did not fail school. School failed you.
Right.
You need to just know that. Don't walk around telling yourself. But it's hard when you have two children and one of them thrives and gets a lot of accolades and
right.
and yay you, and and the sisters, be more like your sister,
right?
Yeah, right. And it's, I do as best I can as the mother, but I'm one right. voice. There's all of society and another parent and all these other influences.
Right. But you may be only, I say that in quotes, one voice, but you're the mom. So that carries a lot of weight, I think. And I think that's, as long as the child has at least one person who is like in their corner advocating for them all the time, that they're safe with, that's the world right there. Like that's what they need. So while, society and their friends, they say other things, because you have this good relationship with your kids, what you tell them carries a lot of weight. Like that's what I find. So that's, my point is, it may be a lot more significant than you think. So, and that's obviously a good thing. So, and then as long as the kids know they can always come to you with questions, that's everything right there.
Yeah.
Do you do much work in helping mixed parents or blended parents when a new step somebody is coming into the picture, and and that dynamic?
Yes, I do.
Do you know anybody like that, Kim?
I know a couple people like that.
I know. I mean, that's our situation. Like, my husband is my son's stepfather. I had, a step parent growing up, right? So I was a stepchild. So yeah, that's and I get a lot of questions from blended families who have kids together, and they have, kids from previous relationships. I tell them largely, like, look, before anything else, you need to work on building a positive relationship with the child. They're not going to just listen to you when you come in there because you're a new person. You have to concentrate on building the relationship, and you'll see, as the relationship gets closer and the child trusts you more and feels more comfortable with you, then they will naturally take guidance from you, naturally listen to you. Not all the time, because they're also coming into their own autonomy, but they'll at least listen to you, take guidance from you, take direction from you because of the relationship. They're not going to take the direction from you just because you come in here spouting orders if you're totally
right. And I've seen that in family dynamics. What my daughters were, they would come and they say, we were told you have to listen to so-and-so because she's an adult.
Mhm.
Like that was the only reason. Like she's an adult, so you have to do everything she says. And they were like, no, we're, and I think that depends on the age of the child too. If you have teenagers, teenage girls, and a new woman comes into the picture, there is probably going to take some doing before they're going to take much guidance from that new person, right?
Absolutely.
If ever.
Yep. Yeah. And you have to be the adult has to be really patient with that.
Really patient.
Really patient. And there's, it's tough. It's not easy, but it's, you can get to the place where you have this good relationship. But again, you have to be patient, right? And you have to also think, and I find that a lot of parents, they don't think of this right away, but, think about how tough it is for the child.
Yeah.
Right? They've possibly lost a parent, whatever the situation is.
Yeah,
exactly. Like my father died, right? So you lost a parent like forever, and then you deal with a new step parent. So you're dealing with a lot of change. And I hear a lot of, sometimes I'll hear parents say, well, this child is spoiled. No, this child, it doesn't know what's going on, and they're hurting, and they don't know how to articulate to you, I'm feeling all this emotional pain. I feel like I don't have control over what's happening to me, and it doesn't feel good. That's what's happening.
Or maybe I don't even feel like I belong in this family anymore.
Absolutely. So that's you need to think about first how tough this is for the kid. And when you think about that, it's easier to kind of weather the storms, because they're acting like this or saying this because they are hurting. It's not that they, want to create trouble. They're just a bad kid.
It's not personal.
No, it's not personal. They're hurting. They're having a hard time, and they don't know how to deal with it. That's what the adult's for, obviously.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the first thing. Always come from that place, and things will have potential to be a lot smoother if you come from that place.
The other thing that I see is that, so let's say a person is single for a while, or they, for whatever reason, and then they meet somebody, right? And they're happy, they're in love, they're in that beginning part of the relationship, they're in that magical, everything is great. And then you bring them home to meet the kids,
and the kids are like,
and the kids are like, wah wah, like,
sure,
they're
who
not,
the hell is
they're
she?
not thrilled.
Yeah,
they're, and it's, you can see it from both sides. Like, you've got this, adult who finally found that special someone, and they're happy, and they've, bringing them into their life. So they want them to
connect
and
on some level,
but that pushing it,
it doesn't work.
And like, we're just going to pretend now we're just one big happy family, and that divorce or death or none of that happened. We're good now. Everything's good. It's a new, and the kids are like, oh, hell no.
Right.
Like, no, we're not going to be happy about this just because you've got on match.com and met somebody new. And
exactly.
It's like,
that takes time.
We're still grieving, or we're
exactly.
And the other thing, kids hold on to that fantasy that their kid, that especially during divorce, that their parents are going to get back together.
Oh yeah.
So that new person is like in the way.
Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah.
Of the fantasy.
And I think the other one is that, and maybe this was happening with your girls too, right? There's also this, like, my allegiance is to my mom.
Yeah.
That's where my allegiance is. So you can come in and you can, but
no, that wasn't ever the case with my girls. They were like, whoever's buying me shit, that's who my allegiance is to. Yeah, my daughter even said that to Gary at one point. He said, he gave her this really nice birthday present, and she said, is Gary trying to buy my love? She said, it's okay if he is. It's okay because I like it. I like it. I like it.
That's great.
This is working for me. She's like,
great.
I see what's happening. He's trying to buy my love. Okay, good.
Tell him it's working.
That's great. That's great.
Tell him keep it up. It kind of reminds me when my kids were little, one of them would say, he's your favorite or she's your favorite. And I'd say it's up for grabs every day.
That's right. That's
every day.
It depends.
Be you tomorrow. Just don't give up.
Oh my gosh. That's so funny. I said to my son, because he's an only child, I'm like, my favorite son. He's like, he rolls his eyes. I'm like, yeah, I'm your only child, mom. You're still my favorite, though.
Funny, I know.
So,
And who
yeah.
knows? You might still be my favorite if there were others, but you are
Exactly,
definitely my favorite
exactly,
now. You never
exactly.
know.
But yeah,
That's
that's
so great.
navigating the blended families is tough. And like you say, it takes a long time to function as a family unit. I mean, that can take 5-7 years.
Yes.
So again, be patient, do stuff together in a low-key, pressure-free way, just watching TV together, having dinner together. There's no pressure to like
Right.
necessarily talk if you don't want to,
Right.
Yeah.
but just doing the stuff together. And then eventually that, with patience from everybody, you can act as a family unit, but it takes years to get there. It's not definitely, like you say, not an overnight process.
And I think a lot of that kind of normal adjustment behavior children get labeled as being disrespectful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
When that person hasn't been in their life long enough to really earn respect.
Well, respect
right.
also comes with trust, and it's like, give it a minute. Give it a minute.
Exactly. And that's actually something I tell
Which I know is
parents.
easier said than done.
No, it is. It is. But I
I'm a
tell
little impatient.
I am too, I'll be honest. I tell a lot of parents, especially of Scorpio children, kids, like you say, kids won't necessarily automatically trust or respect even the parents.
Right.
Right. And Scorpio, it's a sign that it is inherently mistrustful. Like it just is for a lot of reasons. But I tell parents of Scorpio kids, don't expect your child to automatically trust you. You have to earn, even the parent has to earn the trust, even the parent. So it's easy to take it personally. It's easy to feel offended. Like, why doesn't my child trust me? But again, that's earned over time, right? But then once you have the trust and respect, and with a step parent, obviously that's even more so, that trust and respect are earned over time. I don't believe in necessarily that you have to trust or respect an adult because they're an adult. No, like, so I don't.
That's all you get from that. All you get with that rhetoric is pretend trust. It's
exactly.
faking.
And it sets up this dynamic where when you're
nobody's authentic.
Exactly. When the child is older, becomes an adult, are they supposed to just automatically trust and respect everyone?
Right.
No.
And you know what else? Forced apologies.
Oh,
right.
I hate them.
Right.
Like
and
that was one of
them,
my
for the record, I did them.
Pet peeves.
Yeah.
So because if you force someone to say they're sorry when they're not,
right,
you're forcing them to lie.
Yeah. You're telling them to lie.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
And then of course, when they lie about something else, then that's
you punish
bad.
them.
Then they get in trouble. Yeah. There's a whole reason why, kids lie for a multitude of reasons.
Yeah.
Obviously.
And a lot of it's been invited. Yeah.
Right. A lot of it's because like, I don't want to get in trouble, so I'm going to lie about this.
Right.
Yeah.
Or I don't want my parents to get mad at me, so I'm going to lie about this.
I'm going to lose something I have or not get something I want. That's what it boils down to.
That's
right.
really it.
Right.
Oh, Maria, this has been a great conversation. Are you ready for the lightning round?
I think so.
All right. Well, first question, what rules have you chosen to rebel against on your journey to health?
Well, definitely the fact that I'm open-minded to a whole bunch of different treatments. Not just traditional medicine. And I believe that like incorporating meditation practices, spirituality can actually kind of help alleviate some of the body's physical problems, because we store a lot of the trauma in the body. And obviously that's been written about by
Amen, sister.
Right. Yeah. But we store a lot of trauma in the body. So, instead of just, taking medication to alleviate symptoms, which I obviously have no problem with medication, but also incorporate, healing from the trauma. That's why EMDR, cognitive behavioral therapy, all those things are so important to get through the trauma, bring it up, raise it to the surface. And I acknowledge that acknowledging the trauma rationally is sometimes almost as painful as going through the trauma, because now you're acknowledging it and what happened to you, but it's necessary for healing and to just feel better overall.
Yeah.
Hopefully MDMA passes this last trial and can be used to help make that a little more comfortable. It's coming.
All right, Maria, next question. What does it mean to you to be holy?
To live your authentic life, be your authentic self, and seek those things that fulfill you personally, And just because I think that's what kind of the higher power of the universe calls us to do, is to do what is fulfilling for us and be authentic to ourselves, which could be challenging, as you guys said earlier. Everybody else is doing this kind of path, right? This kind of path of like pursuing material and I call it ego oriented pursuits. You want to look to see what basically like follow and go after what feeds your soul and your soul growth.
Yeah, nice. Last question. What do you want to say to a listener right now to help them rise up?
Definitely, I would say to parents of kids, parents who have come from a place of childhood trauma, a lot of them just feel terrible about themselves. They feel broken. And my message to them is that you're actually the childhood trauma you experienced, while terrible, and it's obviously you should not have experienced it. We all deserve a good childhood, but nevertheless, that childhood trauma actually can make you a better parent, because you know what's at stake, you know what's important and what's not so important, and you know what not to do, and that actually can lead you to become like the best parent imaginable. So that would be my main message to parents.
That's so helpful.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank
Well,
you so
thank you
much for being
joining.
here.
Thank you, Kim
Yeah.
and Laura. This is very exciting.
And we will share your contact information in the show notes. But your website is www.lawschoolheretic.com.
That's
love
right.
That's a great rebellious name.
Thank you.
I love heretics.
Yeah. So, so folks who want to reach out to you will know how to get in touch with you. But thank you for
guys.
joining.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Sacred Rebellion. We love connecting with you in this way. If you want to join the rebellion and enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to Sacred Rebellion.
Give us a rating and review, and please recommend us to your tribe. Follow us on social media at Sacred Rebellion Podcast on Facebook and Instagram.
Until next time, stay curious,
Stay courageous, and most of all, stay rebellious.